In the 12th chapter, titled Back to Struggle, uh, the desire to go back, to not beg, and to go back to her home and find a job is now strong in Vidya's mind. So she asks her nanny's permission to go to Vaidavadi, and from there she leaves for home. That is Tamil Nadu. The first place that she goes to is her sister's house. She stays there for some time, but she develops an appendicitis problem and she has a surgery. And it is after the surgery that, for the first time, a documentation is made in a hospital that a male to female operation was done in Pune. However, because she feels that the her family is not comfortable with her identity and that she is a burden to the family, she decides to leave her sister's house. She goes to Madurai, and with the help of her theatre friends, she finds places to stay, and she gets a job. Finally, she manages to bag a job with a bank. The name of the bank is not mentioned. So, in the 13th chapter, finally, after a long struggle, she bags a job. So, in the 14th chapter, it is said a new journey. Her job is as a EDP assistant in the Madurai branch. So from now on, her life is comparatively smooth. She faces no harassment. She has a pleasant work atmosphere. She lives with a person called Vijaya Auntie, who is extremely caring towards her. The colleagues, he manages to make a lot of literary friends. Everybody is nice to her. She starts publishing small poems in Muri magazine, and it is at this point that she meets Bala Bharati, who suggests Vidya to open a blog and write about her experiences. So he also manages to find a permanent accommodation in the Tamil Nadu Theological Seminary and TTS, a hostel. So finally, the acceptance that Vidya was craving for throughout her life. At this point of life, she gets it. Through writings, people are empathetic and understanding towards her, but he feels that just because he or she, Vidya, has managed to rehabilitate herself and become a part of society, he feels a social conscience and feels that he should continue fighting for the rights of Tirunangais. So what he wants is a legally enforceable social status. So in the 15th chapter, he starts, I want to live with pride. He starts his legal fight. He wants to change his name from Sharavanan to Living Smile Vidya. So he applies to the Tamil Nadu Stationery and Printing Department for the name change. But the application is returned, so he has to go to the court. He finds an advocate, a transgender rights activist and advocate, Rajini, and finally, after a long struggle, she manages to change her name. But she still faces, even though the immediate acquaintances are all good to him, generally the attitude of the public in Madurai, which is a small village, is not good. So he decides that he will go to Chennai, and he also decides that he cannot remain satisfied with just doing good for herself. He wants to do something for the transgender community. So he decides to go to Chennai. He quits his job and finds a job, bags again. And it is difficult for a transgender to find a job, but he manages to find a job in the administrative ring of Swayam, a trust which is run by Muthuraman and Uma at Para Vedupetai, which also runs a Siragu Montessori school. So finally, even though he is a transgender, He finds a job to survive and becomes a transgender rights activist. So it is at this point that the autobiography ends. When he is accepted, he manages to find a job and starts working for the rights of transgenders. Uh, it is at this point that the narrative ends. Now, the concluding lines of this last chapter of his autobiography ends with the demands that he has for transgenders. He calls the transgenders the Dalits of Dalits. That is, the marginalized among the marginalized, the lowest of the lowest. He says what we want is a legal approval and recognition. There's not just male and female, there is this third gender also. He wants to, Vidya wants a legalized opportunities for legalized sex operation. He wants the removal of order number 377, which treats transgenders as disease. The identity of transgenders is reduced to disease afflicted sex workers. He wants reservation for the transgenders, and he wants a public acceptance of transgenders, which should start right from childhood by introducing transgenders to schools. So these are the demands and that he places before us, and he says that all Tirunangais or transgenders want is acceptance. Um, Transgenders are vilified in society because they either beg or they either do sex work. But Vidya reminds us that it is not out of, you know, desire that they indulge in these two professions. It is because they are offered no other economic opportunities that they are forced to live a life like this.